banks and lenders 10 times faster. Mena is an alumni of Rome Business School. So I want us to welcome our speaker, Mene Blessing. You can unmute, sir.
Thank you so much, Ayotunde. It's such an honor to be here and to connect with everybody on the call today. Um, uh, I'm an alumni of Rome Business School and always proud of this institution. So today, my goal is to be a blessing to you, like my name says, and please do pay attention. Over the last couple of years, I've been an entrepreneur, not just an entrepreneur, but by virtue of my interaction with people, with businesses, I've come to also realize and learn, from other people. So the things I'll be sharing with you today are things that I've experienced myself as a business owner in Nigeria, running both a startup, a thriving startup in Nigeria, um, and also, I've also been involved in nonprofit too. So it applies to startups, it applies to SMEs, it applies to business owners overall. I share a story quickly. So some years ago, I was running a company, a feed production company, out of Delta State. I spent like literally all my life savings building a factory, a really massive factory in Delta. And having built the factory, the next thing I did was bought raw materials, a lot of them. And the idea was to produce animal feeds that would sell to farmers, because I had developed this innovation that is based on using alternative raw materials. So I wanted to create something that was, that did not depend on the use of soya beans and corn and all those things in producing poultry feeds, fish feeds, and all that. And having made that investment in Delta, in fact, part of the investment came as a loan, right? We are still in the middle of that project. We just even started production, barely 10 months into the project. The factory was ready, machinery was set up and all that. The warehouse was stocked. And then all of a sudden, something happened. Part of the money for that business was a loan, and the loan was in dollar. Like we received the money from a US investor in dollar. By the time I converted that money to dollar, I think it was about 180 naira or so. I think that was when Good Luck was still around. And I think it was also around transition time. All of a sudden, the naira started to crash. uh, Crash 170, 180, 190. They say to stabilize at 200, So, okay, 200, maybe to come down. That was how time began to go. So it was time to pay. 6 months moratorium was over. It was time to pay, to start paying back the loan. So I needed to convert the money back to dollar, right? To be able to wire it back to the US. Naira was like 240. So I wrote to the investor, look at what is going on now. Can you give us extra? Let's see what happens next quarter. Maybe it's going to come down. Now, this investment came at 5% interest per annum. 5%. That was the interest I was paying on that loan. 5% per annum, right? Which was really good. Would you believe that this investor gave us that extra quarter, just to see how things will shape? Naira continued to take to do what it does well. And I remember one day I was with my pastor Pastor G, and we were just having a conversation about this whole Naira thing. And then he said, bro, bro, I had a revelation last night too that he should just tell me that he was in Germany. He saw himself in Germany, and he was like in an airport. You know, they do money, like people change money in the airport, and he saw people changing money at 500 naira. 500 naira. In fact, by the end of that week, Naira had hit 300. So I just had to make a decision quickly. So I kind of like had spiritual intelligence to know that, oh, Naira was going to hit 500. So I didn't have to wait anymore. So I had two decisions. I could either write back to my investor and prove to them that things were not going on well and screw them up, or I could work in integrity, right? So I decided to work in integrity and pay them their money. So what I did was to liquidate all our everything, liquidated it, converted it to Naira. In fact, by the time I got the dollar, it was 384 Naira to $1. Wired the money back to the US. The business closed down. There was no way the business could survive. The business like completely shut down. And so for me, it became a masterclass for me on risk management, like especially in Nigeria, where we business owners go through a lot, you know. So anytime you hear dollar crashing, naira crashing, things like that happening, some people's lives are actually at stake. I also remember a few years ago, when the naira shifted from about 500 to about 700, 800, some people committed suicide, right? Why? Because these people have taken loans, right? Some of these loans were backed with like they were taking in FX. And for a business where your profit margin is probably just 10%, 20%, and then suddenly you have to probably work the next 10, 20 years of your life to be able to repay back those loans, where the interest keeps accumulating before you know what's happening. Some people just realize that they cannot do anything, and then so it's the topic today is a very, very serious topic, right? Irrespective of the size of business you run, right? It's a very, very serious topic. Now, so I hope that was that story doesn't make people sad. I mean, I've gone over it. I've gone through that experience, and today I'm better able to understand if I'm going to take a dollar loan. I'm better able to plan myself better and hedge my risks better as of today. So, and I hope that that was also very useful for you. So I prepared a slide, a short slide, to just discuss this topic with you today. So I'm going to share my screen. Just 1 minute. Let me share my screen with you. I came prepared for this conversation today. Yeah. So this one I have prepared. And just to give some of you a background again of who I am. I know our moderator already made mention of that. I run a company in Lagos. It's called VetSac. We provide financing for farmers, people who do fish farming, poultry farming, and people who also process these products. So if you buy fish or chicken, you process it into frozen chicken or smoked fish and all that. We also provide financing. The reason I mention this is because like every single week we're dealing with risk. So when Room Business School reached out to me to speak on risk management, I was like, okay, this is a topic. So every single week we are dealing with risks because money is going out. We have to look at the economy. We have to look at several factors in order to make decision as to which customer should get access to capital through our platform. And almost every quarter, we're doing hundreds of millions that's going out to customers across the country. So essentially what we do is that we provide financing to these customers in the form of raw materials. Okay, so that's exactly what we do. Now, let's talk about understanding business risk and mitigation strategies. So I'll cover the basics of business risk. Then I will talk about developing mitigation strategies. And while I'm talking about this, I'm going to give examples. I'm also going to use some case studies, and then we'll have an interactive session. So let's take a look at our country, Nigeria. I believe there might be other people from other countries who are here, but for our case study, we're looking at Nigeria. Nigeria is a country with over 200 million people, heavily dependent on agriculture, heavily dependent on petroleum, and our entire infrastructure runs a whole lot on fintech in terms of how money moves around. Yeah, there's still a lot of cash transactions, but digitally, we have one of the most sophisticated fintech infrastructure in the world. Our infrastructure is so good that even like we are far more advanced than the United States of America when it comes to, the speed of moving money. In Nigeria, you buy something, you make a transfer within 30 seconds or 1 minute, the person gets the money in their account. In America, you can't do that. Like you can't transfer 100 million instantly like that. Probably it's going to take you the whole day or 2 days or something like that. So we are quite advanced. Then we also have a growing e-commerce sector. Right now, almost everybody is now selling something on WhatsApp. Everybody is trying to create like a web page or be on social media. And then I think there's a new trend also around renewable energy. People are finding it very hard to buy fuel and diesel and all that. So more people are now adopting solar. Either there's this Lumos box that MTN provides. I know it used to be about 17 or 20,000 naira. Maybe it's probably 50K now. But believe me, if you have that Lumos box in your master's bedroom, it's going to save you thousands of naira in buying fuel. Like I can testify to the usefulness of that product. Some other people buy solar panels and they use even in their offices. The investment is worth it. People are finding out that, and it's even like you don't have noise disturbing you from your backyard every night. So these are some of the latest trends of what is going on right now in Nigeria. Now, in terms of the challenges that we are facing, especially as business owners and entrepreneurs, innovators in Nigeria, we're seeing that a lack of access to capital and financial resources is a big issue. Was it last week? Dr. Cardoso, the CBN governor, announced increase in MPR rates, right? To about 24% point something, right? So essentially what that means is that if I am a GT bank or an Access bank or whichever bank, maybe when I go to CBN to like borrow money and all that, it's coming at the cost of 24%, right? So which means that it's going to be harder to get money right now. If you're trying to borrow money from a bank, it's going to be quite harder. And then the CBN has also increased like the liquidity ratio and the amount of monies that banks need to have as their cash base. So things are getting really tight in terms of access to finance. Then if you're in agriculture, the suffer is double, right? Because nobody's really going to look too much at your face because typically the banks would rather finance a real estate deal, they would rather finance appreciating assets, they would rather finance crude oil, trade and export and all those kind of things. So when you look at the fact that Nigeria has over 40 million SMEs and more than half of those are in agriculture, then you will see that access to financing is a big issue, right? Another issue that we face here in Nigeria is the issue of infrastructure, right? And I was talking to somebody, I think we are having a conversation, just a consultant from IFC. We're having a conversation just about a week ago, And we're talking about Lagos State, for example, how, Lagos is jam-packed, right? And how the establishment of estates across Lagos solve the issue of security, armed robbery and those kind of things has dropped significantly, but then it is contributing to the traffic problem, right? Because normally you're supposed to have um, road infrastructure. Everybody should not be using Lekki Express, for example, right? There should be other roads, that people can navigate themselves around for a big city or a mega city like Lagos. So these are some of the struggles we go through in Nigeria. And then look at what happened recently with the telcos. People are not getting good internet to do Zoom calls like we're doing now, or to do other things. These are very very serious issues. There was something that happened recently. I was dealing with an investor, and then we're trying to close a deal. Yeah, we need to sign some papers, and it turns out that one of the partners from the investment firm um, was in Ghana, right, when the submarine cables were cut, and they just could not send a simple PDF document. so, so we heard that terrorists cut um, whatever they cut wires or so, or blew up whatever under the sea. And for many people, that was just news, but it affected businesses. Like, really, transactions could not be completed. A lot of things happened. So we need to start thinking, or of how to set up our own infrastructure, right, in this part of the world. That's a challenge we all have to cope with as business owners. Another issue is the issue of regulatory and compliance issues. And I think one industry that has really suffered from this the most would be the financial sector, right? Especially when you look at crypto, blockchain, and all that. They've really gone through a lot. Like, the rules are always changing, and I think there's this company, it's in Nextcoin or so. With what happened with FTX in the US and other, a lot of companies shut down. People lost billions, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. People lost a lot of money, especially in the US. People lost money, and so these are some of the challenges that we do face, here in Africa. Now, if you take a look at this is a company, one of my favorite companies is called Recyclers, founded by Bilikis, that's her, yeah, and her husband, Bilikis Adebi. I think she currently runs like an environmental agency for the Lagos State government right now. She's one of the leaders there. So Bilikis and her team also face some of these challenges. And so, for example, one of the issues they had was access to capital. And one of the ways they solved that was to win competitions, so they had to participate in several grant programs, fellowships, and all that. And that was how they raised money. Even my own company, we had to raise monies from outside Nigeria. Like, we had to win competitions. I think it was on the last year that we raised money from within Nigeria. So these are going to continue to be, these are challenges you would face irrespective. And I keep telling people, everybody's in the business of fundraising, right? Even Dangote is raising money. Even Dangote is raising money. Even your government is raising money. So make sure you learn how to raise capital, because it's going to be a common problem you would face. When we look at regulatory and compliance issues, one of the companies that comes to mind is Flutterwave. Flutterwave has, there's been a lot of talks up and down as to the organization. But one of the things you should respect Flutterwave and Paystack for would be that they are like firstborn, right? They opened up the possibilities within the fintech industry for a lot of young people. So today, a lot of businesses, thousands of businesses are running on Flutterwave, they're running on Paystack, they're running on InterSwitch, but it has not been easy for them, right? Especially, like, was it last year or so, some of the accounts were frozen, in Nigeria, in Ghana, and elsewhere. Was it Kenya? and I think some of them have been unfrozen, but it just goes to show you that when you're doing something innovative and all that, you should expect, some of these issues to rise up here and there, and they are all solvable. Oh, sorry, this is not displaying, but I wanted to talk about the fact that there have been companies who have built like a number of infrastructural infrastructure. So I don't know if they still operate right now, but there used to be this company called wifi.com.ng, TZT. I think they tried to, create some products that makes internet accessible, even though they're not excellent, but at least they started something. Like they started making internet more accessible to individuals in their homes, in their offices, and all that. Main One is also another fantastic company that has done a great job in terms of making internet more accessible for people. So we're seeing things here that irrespective of the risk, the challenges within the country, people are still excelling. And I'll wrap up this point by saying that some people don't like relocating to Lagos to work or to do things. They'll say, "Oh, Lagos is too crowded and all those things. Lagos is too populated. Lagos is the traffic. It's too much." So one of my friends told me something. He said, "Everybody is saying, don't come to Lagos. So Lagos is not the place for people like you and all that." uh, and irrespective of the discouragement he gets, those people themselves who are discouraging him are living in Lagos. So he said that he's going to relocate to Lagos so that he wants to come and join people on traffic. That whatever they are benefiting in that traffic, he wants to come to Lagos. And he did that. And guess what? He has set up his business, he set up his home in Lagos, and he's doing very, very well. So I'm just trying to say that irrespective of the challenges we face or the risks we face, there are always solutions to mitigate these issues. Sorry about that. So let's talk about some of the importance of risk management, right? One of them would be that when you manage risks properly, you tend to improve your operational efficiency and resilience. So I could give a real life example using my own business. We deal with farmers. One of the set of people that banks don't like to finance are farmers, like farmers, especially livestock farmers. Banks really avoid them because the business tends to be very complex and all that. So part of what we did as an organization was to really understand the customer, understand the nuances of financing this type of customers. And because we understood it, we're able to develop a unique technology that allows us, right, to assess the farmers, conduct credit risks on the farmers, and to be able to tailor resources towards these farmers. And because we've done that successfully, we have now been able to improve our operations like a whole lot internally, and the company is now more resilient. So we are much more stronger and even almost profitable, right? As an organization. So this partly is because I tell people, yeah, we're a risk management organization, essentially. Yeah, we're a risk management organization because that is the value that we offer to banks. That's the value that we offer to financiers, and that's the value that we offer to investors, and of course the clients who come to us to get raw material financing and all that. Another critical importance of risk management would be that it enables you to make informed decisions and to what do you call it, to plan strategically, right? So let me give you an example. I remember when Alhaji Dangote casted the vision of setting up the Obajana cement factory. Yeah, the cement factory in Obajana. I remember very, very well. I think he raised about 900 and something million dollars for that particular project, right? And one of the things that Dangote did that was super smart, super, super smart, and this was like probably 10, 15 years ago. I wonder, yeah, 10, 15 years ago, was that he got experts to really understand the landscape, everything, and then he deployed robots. I still remember that report. Like he focused on utilizing robots for the facility. And I would say that for me, that was really good risk management, and that was super, super, super smart. You know, another organization I could talk about right now would be what's their name again? I don't know why it's escaping my mind. It's being run by Larry Fink. I don't know how many of you BlackRock. It's called BlackRock. If you study the history of BlackRock, BlackRock became BlackRock because of something they did internally called Aladdin. So they developed like a software technology called Aladdin, right? And it was a full risk management software. That was the core infrastructure. People keep saying, yeah, BlackRock is the largest money manager in the world. But really, if you dig deeper, you will see that BlackRock is for lack of better words, they are the gods of risk management, right? Managing over $10 trillion, almost more than half of the Fortune 500 companies in the world are all under BlackRock's portfolio, right? And that's because they are good risk management. So I'm just saying this because sometimes when we talk about risk management, some people don't some people see it as something that belongs to legal and compliance and all that. They don't see it as something that they should get involved in. Really, if you are involved in any business, either as an executive, as an owner, or whatever, you need to be like super like risk savvy. So and then I think maybe the last point I would say would be that understanding risk management helps you to not just identify these risks, but gives you the ability to mitigate them. Now, let's talk about types of risk, and then maybe we can look at some examples. So one of them, I put this one as number one because it's something that everybody on the call can connect with. The issue happening right now with currency fluctuation, right? Today you go on Twitter or you go on Abuki FX or NJN rates or somewhere, and you see that the Naira is, or Google, Naira is always like shifting up and down and all that. But I think it's becoming more stable recently. These things pose a lot of risks. For example, I tell you how it affects us in agriculture. How it affects us in agriculture is that we're having a situation where there's huge price volatility with raw materials. Like literally farmers cannot even plan, right? Because today you were supposed to buy a bag of feed. You plan to buy a bag of feed for maybe 15,000 naira. You get there, you called in the morning, that they told you it was 15K, and maybe you close from work and you go to pick up the products in the evening because you did not pay cash at the beginning of the day, or you pay the next day, and then the price has moved up by 1% or 2% or 3%, and for a business where the profit margins are very tight, like it's extremely, frustrating for a lot of customers, and I know that agriculture is just one area. People who do importation, exportation, this is a big issue. And so when you do your business, you need to put in that caution, in your calculations. Another major issue that affects type of risks to be really aware of is compliance risk, I would say. Especially, I observe that anytime there is like a change in government, maybe like there's a new president or something like that, especially in Africa, a lot of things could change pretty fast. So that is why some people, once it's 1 year to election, they don't really make any significant investments anymore. They start liquidating their investments so that they have more cash reserves. You know, I know in Europe, in US, legal issues crop up really fast. I'm sure everybody's aware right now, even in Nigeria, the case with the Risco tomatoes and all that. These are things that, do happen. And then the issue of taxation. Then another set of risks to really look at would be strategic risk, issue of competition, industry disruption. I think I would like to speak briefly about competition. For competition, we're having, I do believe that if you're running a small business or a startup, you should not be too troubled about competition. As someone who has run a startup and has failed, yeah, and also succeeded, I can tell you that the least problem you have is your competition. I'm telling you the truth. The least problem, if you focus on the problem you're solving, you validate that problem properly, and you develop a solution or a product or a service that people care about because you did proper market research, you are more likely going to succeed and succeed. In fact, I find that when you go to the page of your competitors on social media and see what they're doing, you can almost tell that these people don't know what they're doing. They might be more successful than you, but you know that because you understand the market and the industry very well, you know the mistakes that people are making. So I just want to say that don't be too worried about competition. It's good to be aware, but don't copy them, because you will just start copying mistakes from pricing model mistake, from how they are marketing. You just start copying things, that you don't need. So make sure you just kind of like mind your business and do what you should be doing. Focus on the fundamentals, right? And then in terms of industry disruption, I would like to talk briefly about what AI is doing right now in the industry. How do I explain this? So in 2023, right? 2022, 2023, I got a message from a company called Quillbot. So I use Grammarly. I'm sure some of you here already use Grammarly to correct your sentences and all that. But then I switched to Quillbot. Quillbot, I can share a link. It's Quillbot. It helps you to write better, because I do write, a lot. It just helps you to improve your sentences and all that. And then Quillbot wrote to me, their PM, their product manager wrote to me that they observed that I was using their product so well and a lot. So they wanted to understand what I was using it for. I said, no problem. So I had that conversation with them, shared my insights with them and all that. Then something happened just within 1 month. My usage of Quibo dropped by like 90-something%. What happened? ChatGPT. ChatGPT, like I was one of the first early users of ChatGPT. And I would use this thing to brainstorm. I will use it to improve the quality of my writing. I will use it to play the role of a devil's advocate, to just challenge my ideas. I will push back on the AI. And I was so fascinated by what I was saying, right? And I began to think about how people who were consultants, you're being affected by ChatGPT, which means that instead of me paying you a consultancy fee of 1 million naira, 10 million naira to come and consult for my company, I could go to ChatGPT and pay $20 for premium, and I will tell ChatGPT all my problems and everything. And then I will tell ChatGPT, I want you to take up the role of a consultant from Accenture or a consultant from XYZ company, right? And I want you to advise me on this. And ChatGPT would give me high quality stuff, compared to what I would have spent like tens of millions on, right? And so ChatGPT has disrupted a lot of things. There was this guy, was this popular, what's his name? This producer in the US who already promised to set up a studio, I think $500 million. He was going to set up a studio that would empower Black people. Tyler Perry, yeah, that's his name, Tyler Perry. He already announced that plan about last year or so, right? And then just about not up to 2 months ago, ChatGPT announced, OpenAI announced that they're going to release a new product called Sora, Sora, yeah, Sora AI, that produces videos. If you go on my Facebook, I think I'll put it on my LinkedIn after this call. I'll post a video. The video is so high quality, just a 40-second video. It's a movie that Sora produced. It's called Air Balloon. Like, it's insane. The quality is insane. The storytelling is perfect. And that thing was created in less than 1 minute. Tyler Perry had to pause his entire project. He was like, he's not building again. He's not spending hundreds of $1 million on his studio, and then get out competed by an AI that somebody will just pay $20, $30 for. So even irrespective of who you are on this call, you need to be thinking about how AI, or how you can take advantage of what is going on with AI to improve the quality of service that you offer, to improve your skill set so that you can be well positioned, within the industry right now. And then finally, I'll talk about operational risks. Operational risks, of course, they have to do with risks of dealing with human beings and issue of infrastructure. For infrastructure, we've talked about, but let me just say one or two relevant things that will be useful to some of us, especially those of us who are young people on this call. What you would see is that, especially those of also, there's a company called Pivo Capital that shut down, I think was it last year or early this year, just within the last 6 months, it shut down. The company raised money from Y Combinator. It's one of the most successful companies or startups in Nigeria, founded by two ladies who are well educated, but they just could not work together, right? Something, I don't know what happened, but I knew that it was published online on Tech Cabal also, right? That they had conflict and co-founder issues, and they had to break up the company and all that. And it was so painful to me. The reason it was painful to me was because for every new company that succeeds in Nigeria, they tell a story to investors that, there are more people like this that you should support, right? So we need more stories of successful SMEs, successful startups in the country. So, but people most times don't think about the fact that dealing with human beings is complex, right? So, for example, you have somebody as your business partner. Don't say because this person is your brother or sister, or because you people are childhood friends, you refuse to sign agreements. Big mistake. In fact, when there is peace, that is the best time to sit down with your business partner. When you people are loving each other, you are eating chicken together, and pepper soup and laughing. That's the best time to get a lawyer and say, come and help us structure our disagreement. And then you have a legally binding document that holds both partners accountable, because people are funny. Immediately money comes into the company, people's behavior will change. Immediately somebody gets an appointment as something, their behavior will change, and people just have regrets. So please, in terms of managing operational risk, I just wanted to really emphasize that aspect. Some people employ people, they don't even give them letter of engagement. There's no letter of employment, nothing at all. I mean, how would you be working without a proof that you've been employed by this company? And how do you run a company without providing or issuing people letters of engagement, something as basic as that? So these are some of the things to really look at for. Now, in terms of how do you, this is just a brief risk assessment framework. Really, it has to do with whatever you want to do as an entrepreneur, as a business person, or as a leader. You need to think, anticipate. What are the things that could go wrong? The term strategy is a military term, right? Strategy is a military term. I know people talk about it a lot, but very few of us really understand what the word strategy means. And I could give you an example. So let's say you wanted to read a book. So this is a book I have here, right? Yeah, you wanted to read this book. This book has, for example, it has 270 pages, 270 pages. So let's say you said you wanted to read the book in 2 weeks. That is a goal. That's not a strategy. So what is a strategy? If I ask, I've done this exercise. When I ask people, oh, what's your strategy to finishing this book? Some people will say, oh, I'm going to read maybe 30 pages per day. In 7 days, I've read everything. Some people will say, oh, they're going to read X number of pages per hour. They just, but those are plans. They're not really strategy. Strategy is asking yourself, based on who I am and based on, right, the unique challenges that I face, right? What are the things that could go wrong in terms of me hitting my target and in terms of me implementing my plan? Yes, I want to read 30 pages every evening, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., right? But what could go wrong? So my strategy as a father would be that, okay, when I get home from work, 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., I have kids in my home. They're going to be making noise, right? So they're going to be playing, they will be shouting around. So therefore, my strategy is that I'm going to get myself into my private room and lock the door. Or maybe immediately they come back from school, I'm going to take care of them, give them food so that they go to bed on time. That is good strategy. It means that I've been able to identify the risk, analyze the risk, and prioritize what is the best thing to do. Is it to shut myself in the room, or is it to get them to sleep on time? So maybe based on how I analyze the risk, I'll prioritize making them sleep on time, because if I shut myself in the room, the kids could come bang, 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 daddy, I want to talk to you. Right? So because I have thought about, I've identified the risks, analyzed the risks, prioritized the risks, I have not been able to develop a strategy. Do you understand? A mitigation strategy. So again, when you're writing a business plan, for example, there's always a chapter that says risk assessment and mitigation strategy. So where you identify the different types of risk, like I just talked about, strategic, financial, operational risks and all that. You have to identify them, and then you have to analyze them, prioritize them, and develop a mitigation strategy. And I can tell you for free that one of the biggest undoing within the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Nigeria and most African countries has been the downgrading of business plans by motivational speakers. I can tell you, like, I don't used to believe in business plans myself, right? Like, I'm one of those people who don't believe in business plan. Like, oh, business plans are not useful documents. But I have come to realize in working with a lot of entrepreneurs that if people had just taken out time to do the research, the basic research, understand the market, understand the operations, do your financial projections, understand the operational model you're going to run your business on, like just carrying out that intellectual exercise is going to help most business owners, decide on what they want to do, understand the potential risks that could happen so that they could mitigate them, right? So even though the business may not actually happen the way you said it's going to happen in your business plan, but going through that exercise helps you to become aware. And most people are just entrepreneurs or business people in Nigeria without the basic understanding of how to run a business. And so developing a business plan helps to, educate them, in that particular process, So I just want to really emphasize that if you are like me, you don't believe in business plan or you don't believe in business model canvas, my brother, my sister, please repent. We're not saying that the business plan will make you a successful person. We're just saying that the process of undergoing that business plan is going to change your life and it's going to help educate you to become a better business person. So I'm just going to wrap up now by saying, talking about 4 things: risk avoidance, risk reduction. So in terms of, let me start with risk avoidance. Risk avoidance involves, staying clear of high risk activities. One of the greatest undoing of young people in Nigeria, at least in Nigeria, is people just sitting down, they graduate from school and they are pressing phone and laptop. What are you doing? I'm trading crypto. That is not a job. That is not a part-time job, full-time. You're just losing time and you're wasting your life away. That's what I tell them. So if you want to do crypto, you want to do Forex, whatever, yeah, you can go do that, but do that professionally. Go work for a company. Pay yourself a salary, right? Go do that. If you want to do that, you can do that part-time. But you cannot just sit down, pressing phone and laptop without a full-time job. Because what happens is that before you know what's going on, 2 years is gone, 3 years is gone, 4 years is gone. And by the time the person is ready to go back into the labor market, employers are asking you, what did you do from 2000 and this to 2000 and this? Your CV is blank. I was pressing phone and I was trading. Trading what? These are jobs, these are activities that are being carried out by people who know what they're doing, people who are smart, who know what they're doing. Okay, so one of the companies that got shut down I think that was last year. It's called Laser Pay. And part of what may have affected them was the nature of their businesses, things that have to do with crypto and all that. I'm not saying crypto is bad. I'm just saying that anything that is too high risk, just avoid it. Risk reduction. This is Hugo hosts, Paypot. The reason I brought them up here is that there are times where some of these companies have had issues with bandwidth, maybe too much demand on their service or products. And as a result of that, the website is crashing or people are not able to access their website. I had a friend who was using Google Host. That was years back. All of a sudden, Google Host had to call him that, guy, you need to move away from, I think he was using like a shared service with Google Host, that they had to beg him to leave because other companies were hosted on the same server. So because this one company was bringing a lot of traffic, it was affecting other people's websites. Their own customers could not access it. So, but I think Hugo has made a lot of improvements. Same thing with PayPal, and now they are offering better services. So this is really more about risk reduction. Now, risk transfer. So risk transfer is a strategy you could use in mitigating risks. And essentially, it just has to do with, like, for example, a company like this is Max, you're aware of GoCarter, most of this logistics company in Nigeria. Part of what they try to do is that they ask themselves the question, what could go wrong? Yeah, you're transporting goods of a customer. What if something happens and the good does not get to destination or the goods gets damaged? So they then include insurance. They go to other insurance companies and then partner with them so that if there is an issue, the insurance company takes care of it. So that is what we call risk transfer. Okay. Then finally, it will be an issue. It will be risk acceptance. So this involves, like, you're making informed decision to accept the risk and the consequences. So, for example, Paystack, right? Paystack is like one of the most successful fintech companies ever in Nigeria, right? And they do provide you these wallets, this infrastructure to collect payments from their customers. And one of the things they did in terms of using the risk acceptance strategy was essentially building their products to be a high quality product, such that if anything goes wrong, Paystack must refund you your money. So today, merchants can use Paystack with that peace of mind, knowing that if money disappears from my Paystack wallet today, they can contact Paystack and Paystack will trace that money back and refund it back to them. So this is a case of risk acceptance. And now I'm going to wrap up with Piggyvest, one of the fantastic startups in Nigeria. One of the issues they faced was issue of regulations, because at the time they started and all that, there was really no savings, successful savings company. The people who were popular with that were the local people who were doing Azure. People like my mom, who would, they would save money in their cooperative, or somebody will come and be collecting money, and write it on a card. And then I've heard stories in the past. Sometimes that person will just travel and relocate from the village to Lagos or Abuja, and then people will not see them again. They will run with people's money. But with companies like Piggyvest, Carrywise and Co., who are now on the landscape, they are now able to, they're now being regulated by SEC, most of these companies, so people can save their money with peace of mind. So this is and one of the benefits of this, really, for Piggyvest, is that they've grown over 2 million users, right? Fantastic company. I love what they're doing. So I would like to stop here so that I can take more questions from you. I hope this has been very useful to you. I'm super excited about, being a speaker here today. Yeah, thank you. So I would like to take questions. Maybe if you have a question, you can just raise your hands up,
Okay,
and I'll be able to respond to you.
thank you so much, Mr. Blessing. It was a good time. It was a really impactful discussion that we've had. Okay, let me start before we start taking questions from every participant. Please raise your hands if you have any question. I can say Adetunji, but let me ask this question first. In developing business plans and strategy, what are precautionary plans to make in terms of mitigating possible future business risk. You know, some of these things that you have said, some of them might not be envisaged. For example, the issue with Go-Kada in Lagos, where the Lagos state government decided that there's no bikes on the expressway, and they had to, you know, try to do other things. So what are those precautionary plans that you can make such that when those future risk happens, you can be able to easily navigate and mitigate them?
Yeah, good question. So we're talking about what to do, right? To anticipate some of those risks, right? In developing a business plan. So essentially, I provided a framework earlier, right? Or what I would call like cardinal points. So you need to think about it from like a human resource perspective. Like, okay, what could go wrong with the human beings I'm working with? I'm trying to recruit staff. I'm trying to recruit a business partner, whatever. What could go wrong? Maybe like one of the popular things that goes wrong with most SMEs in Nigeria would be like you don't have high quality staff. So which means a mitigation strategy would include like either outsourcing your hiring to a consultant who knows what they're doing, or you taking out the time to understand what exactly you want that person to do and what type of qualifications and attitudes or experiences those people must have to be able to deliver on the job. And also setting in place what do you call it, the right internal HR processes to make your staff succeed or fire them if they are not the right fit. And then from a strategic point of view too, same thing. From a regulation point of view, same thing. So essentially you should always involve people and prioritize thinking ahead, and then you just write them down and document them in your business plan.
Thank you very much. Mr. Adetunji Muideen, you have the floor.
Okay, somebody has a
sorry.
question.
Yeah, quick one. It's a wonderful presentation. So first thing first, I want to confirm, if you will not say this is an intellectual property, will you be willing to share the slide with us so that we can go through it again?
Yeah, definitely. That's all right.
Secondly, my second question is, you were talking about your startup story, how you source for funds from forest and all, right? So the question I'm asking, I have seen that this is practice of so many startups. And my question is that, is it that there is anything significant that they want to get, why they need to source for funds outside the country? Or is it that they cannot source for such startup fund within the country? Is it that is a peculiarity or is a standard that you have to source for this funding from foreign investors, right? So for instance, if we have to start up a business with $500,000, right? Converting Nigerian money, it will say about 750 million thereabouts. And are we saying that the fund is too much to be able to source for it locally, or there's a standard? So that's my question.
It's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking it. My response to that would be that it seems to me that the people outside of Nigeria have a higher risk appetite. So if you had a project, for example, and you needed $500,000, right? That's about how much is that in Naira? That should be about 700 million Naira. Like, who is going to give that to you? I don't even think like your uncle who might have that money in his bank account will write you a check and say, hey, except they really, really trust you and believe so much in that project. So over here, our own investors, they don't have enough liquidity, enough money in their bank accounts to risk. That's number one. Number two would be that they have a very low risk appetite, right? and all that. So a classic example would be Tony Elumelu Foundation, right? Tony Elumelu has done fantastic work, in terms of accelerating entrepreneurship in the continent. And one of the fantastic things he does is write a $5,000 check to people to start up their businesses and all that, and it's something that I love what he's doing. On the other side of the coin, right? What would $5,000 really do for like a small business? Like in the real sense, within 6 months or 8 months, that money is finished, right? So what happens next? So would it be more effective for the foundation to write a $50,000 check to maybe instead of doing 1,000 entrepreneurs, maybe 200 entrepreneurs? Yeah, maybe there will be more success stories, right? So again, it just risk appetite. You have Y Combinator, for example, Techstars. Most of these US and even European accelerators, they would write you $50,000 check, $100,000 check, and how much percentage of your business would they ask for? 7%, 5%, 10%. So but I don't want to mention them, but there was an organization who, my own company, about, was it 2 or 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, we applied for this program and all that, and then they offered us a space in their program. And I was reading the agreement document. These guys are literally just, they will provide you a location, will provide you computer, will provide you this, will provide you lecture and all those things. And then they're asking, was it for 5 or 10% of that of the company? No cash, nothing. So I was like, these people, they don't know, they should go and Google me. I'm supposed to be the one funding them, not the other way around, right? So, and it's something I've seen severally, like, our investors don't have liquidity and they don't have the same risk appetite. Yeah. So that's why most people who have ideas have to go outside the country to raise money. And how do you go outside the country? It's simply by applying for competitions. So I could, this is list of organizations that won funding from or raise investment from at one point or another. So this award here, you see me receiving here, is from a program called the Global Social Entrepreneurship Competition. I think as far back as 2013 or 2012. I won the grand prize, my team, the grand prize, the only Nigerian to ever win that prize in the world, right? And the only all-African team to ever win that prize in the world. The prize was being sponsored by Gates Foundation, University of Washington, Michael G. Foster School of Business, and I think Microsoft, right? This was where I got, I think I won this is over 10 years ago. I won, was it $12,000 or so, right? So that was the first seed capital I had. My brother, if I was to raise that money from Nigeria, so far, you pitch until you won't lose confidence in yourself. But these people, I don't know anybody, I don't have any connection, nothing. They just want to know that you've done your homework and they want to support you to grow. And so today, every time I share my story, I'm able to quote what they did for me. Do you understand? I'm still able to acknowledge them because they invested in me. But our own people really don't invest in themselves. I mean, there was a time a government agency mentioned that they just released $70 million that they are going to, was it 70, $100 million invest in SMEs or so in Nigeria. Did you hear about it? Did you hear about it? After the announcement was done, no, everything has gone into voicemail. But it's different in the US, in the UK, in Europe. When they announce something, you can actually see the list of people who got the award, and which is something I really appreciate about the Elumelu Foundation. They will publish the names. You see, you can call those people. Did you actually receive? They will say yes. So we want to see that type of transparency more in Nigeria, and actually our government really needs to invest in our own young people. I also would acknowledge the work that Dr. Bosun, the current Minister for Digital Economy of Syria, what he's doing in Nigeria right now. He has started bringing some innovations, and they've started investing. I think they do about 10 million naira now in digital ideas that are using AI and all that. So I want to really just acknowledge that the current government, and I think Goodluck Jonathan also did something called You Win, which was also fantastic. So we want to see more things like that. That is where people like you and I and other people would be able to access funding based on the merit of our ideas. Do you understand? Based on the merit of our ideas. But until then, my brother, if you have something you need to do, don't get discouraged. Just know how to raise capital and apply to international programs. I'm telling you, if you press 2 years max, you raise that money. $100,000, $50,000, $500,000, you will raise it. The people who are raising $1 million or more, they don't have two heads. You will raise if you make up your mind. And I'm telling you this, even if you decide you want to sell people, you will raise money. There's this company, maybe run business school, you need to invite me again, right? I could teach on that. There's this company in Kenya that they process human feces, right? They process it into briquettes that people use to cook food. Those guys have raised money, like significant cash. So I'm telling you, even if you decide that you want to start selling sweat today, just you'll be scraping sweat from people's body and package it and sell. My brother, you raise money. Okay, so run business school, better invite me again, then I will share more. So there are more hands up.
Yeah, let's take Mr. Kingsley Ezeocha.
Okay.
Mr. Kingsley Ezeocha, over to you.
And by the way, I'm on LinkedIn, guys. So you can follow me on LinkedIn and just simply follow me on LinkedIn for my posts. Just wanted to mention that in person. Okay.
All right. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the session. I mean, it's the discussion around risk in Nigeria is I mean, it's Nigeria doesn't give any startup opportunities to grow. But my question is almost in line with what a former student asked or my fellow colleague asked. So dollar is very volatile, right? Right.
Yeah.
We have on this other side, we have this white guys that are, I mean, to them, investment is more like, oh, let us send money to Africa. One big billionaire will just be there, has money, and they believe they're even trying to make a cost for humanity, right? So just like you said, their risk appetite is low. They can afford to give you maybe $10 million, $20 million. And for here, you see companies, you see startups bragging about it. Oh, we raised $40 million in partnership funding and all that. So my question is, if you look at what is happening in Nigeria, it's back end. You see that most of these businesses, they're even struggling. When once the money lands, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, they're all balling. It's normal. By the fifth year, when they start asking for ROI, right, you now see that questions that's coming. So my question is it even still worth it for startups to even go for these partnership fundings? Now, looking at how the economy of the country is going, for me, I don't even think it's even wise because at the end of the day, by the time you finish balling in the first, second, third year, and you start to when you're being requested to send ROI, then you start asking, you start making several excuses. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
is it really worth it?
Worth it? Yeah. So let me ask you a question back. Yeah. Kingsley, right? Your name is Kingsley.
Yes, Kingsley.
So Kingsley, let me ask you a question now. Which would you prefer? Would you rather be the way you are today, or you rather prefer to be like a Dangote and fail? So let's say you are a billionaire, then you now fail, your company crashed, right? And you came back to your current bank account balance today. I don't know what it is, but let's just assume, right? It's 10 million naira. Would you rather be a billionaire who crashed, or would you rather be where you are today?
Well, I mean, nobody likes I get them before. I think I get them before it's worse. Sincerely speaking. So you want to be a billionaire, then I think it's worse.
Okay, there's a reason I asked the question. So let's say I get them before. It's worse, right? Based on you. I would argue otherwise. I get them before is better than I don't get them at all. And I will explain why. It is better that you have an idea that needs 500,000. It's better you go through the process, raise that money, and maybe it didn't work out. At least you've gained the experience, right? Than not to even attempt at all. Right? It's worse, right? So I'm just saying that it requires courage to raise money. It requires a level of intelligence. I think except for the people who were just outright frauds, I don't have any respect for those ones who do fraud, like the light investors, and I have zero respect for them. But for every other person who raised money, did what they told their investors they wanted to do, and then the business did not succeed, I have a lot of respect for them because they're able to take the lessons they learned from that experience and translate it into another venture or another business. Do you understand? So I would say, so it's just my own perspective to that. So I would say it's actually worth it to go race. And again, like I said earlier, traffic day Lagos, traffic day Lagos. There's traffic in Lagos. Go and enter the traffic. The money that other people are seeing in that traffic, just join. Instead of of people complaining that, oh, these startups, they're all failing. You know what? If you actually have a vision, the easiest way you can raise money now is startups or grants. I'm just telling you. So if you like, criticize them. If you like, don't criticize them. Just make sure that you go and raise your own. At least you will suffer small and you know what they went through. Most of them become better quality human beings, more intelligent executives, and they're able to give a lot of value, right, to society. You know, they're able to mentor other people. They're able to go start up something else, right? So I'd rather that you be or a person becomes I get them before than I don't get them at all. If you get what I mean.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Very good answer. It reminds me of a father praying for his son who was trying to come to Lagos and said to the son, it won't be easy for you when you get to Lagos. And the son said, what manner of prayer is this? And he said, there are people that have gone to Lagos. They said it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. They built house, they bought cars. And he said, so as you two, you are going, it won't be easy for you, so that you can do those great things. That reminds me of that. Just wanted to say that. Kelvin and Numa raised his hand. Your question very fast because our time is fast spent. Kevin and Numa.
Yes. Thank you very much. I'm really thrilled to be here today. And my question just aligns with like multiple things that you've spoken about from the area of course, risk. For example, what happened to Gokada and the likes when policy affected them. Now, I think we all agree that their re-strategizing was very fast. Like it happened very, very fast and a lot of things changed, right? So my question would be, how do you, I know normally you don't plan for those sort of high level policy changes, right? That affects the business, but how do you prepare yourself for that sort of agility, such that you don't lose the kind of traction that will make you go out of business?
So you're talking about how do you prepare for risks, right? So that you don't get out of business. Yeah, I think for like Gokada and Co, I think one of the issues, in fact, I think is it All Right or what they call it that time, the other Chinese company. So if you look at the spectrum of all the companies who were in that logistics land space, right, at that time, I think maybe two or three of them reacted well or responded well. Number one would be OPay, number one for sure. Then maybe Max and Gokada, maybe. What was the difference in their response? I think again this comes back to strategy. So OPay had a different strategy. They were doing food delivery at the time. They were doing several things. And so they built a business model or a product that offered multiple services to different customer segments. They were trying to be like the one-stop shop for everything, right? And so when regulation came against those bikes, they were able to quickly liquidate those bikes and continue doing other things like their OPay app, which is now one of the fastest or most promising apps right now in the country, right? Next to Money Point and all that. So whereas Gokada and Co, we are just focused on one line of business, and immediately that issue came up, it was really tough for them, right? Very, very tough. So again, it comes back to strategy, like thinking about the landscape where you operate. Oh, I am a sheep, But in this jungle, we have lions, we have this, we have this, we have that. So what are the things I need to put in place, right? To make sure that I don't get eaten by a lion, or what are the things, you know? So, and then anticipating some of those things. So for example, one of the things someone like me would have probably done, or maybe they should have done, I don't know, maybe they worked on it, maybe they didn't, would be to ask themselves that, okay, regulation is a big issue. Who in Lagos State would be an ideal member of our board, right? And you go actively recruit that person, a very influential person that could, so you have 1 or 2 board members who work with you on government policy. So, which means that about 10 years ago, they were better off if they had gone to recruit somebody like the current president of Nigeria, or somebody who was very close to him, right? Because that would mean that those people would have helped them to shape policies, enter into places. But because, you know, it is what it is, that did not happen. And so the person with the, you know, everything is about interest, right? So if you are not at the table of power, you get cut off. You know, so that was essentially what happened. So again, it has to do with like thinking way ahead, like what could go wrong, and then just trying to structure your business along that line early enough before that kind of thing happens. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. We'll take this last question and we can wrap up this session. This question was sent to the chat box earlier by Jude Moleku. It
Okay.
says, he said, how often does a business refresh its assessment of top risk? How often should or does a business refresh the assessment of this risk that you have said?
Yeah, I would say that I think it depends from business to businesses. For businesses here, let me see if I can share my screen. There was, we talked about, yeah, I think this should be this slide. Yeah, so I think this is probably what I will use as a framework. If there are certain businesses that are much more subject to regulatory issues, like especially the people who are dealing with blockchain, crypto, and all that. Yeah, so this is something they need to be actively working on, and they need to have a plan, a strategy, and deploy human and financial resources towards influencing policies in their favor. And that's something they literally need to be working on every day, or have a team that is focused on just that, right? And that becomes a cost to the business, you know, so it has to be part of the capital raise. For businesses that face financial risk, such as those doing importation, exportation, agriculture, and all that, with this whole currency fluctuation and issue of credit risk, that one is almost every production cycle. Like at VETSAC, one of we deal with this a lot on a weekly basis. Right, so you're gonna have a case of a farmer comes to you and say, "Oh, my fish farm needs, I don't know, let's say 2 million or 5 million naira, right? And maybe they've been approved for financing by maybe one of our partners and all that, and then they need to go pick up the product, but maybe they go pick it up 1 week later, and then the price has gone up, you know. So it's something that needs to be worked on almost on a weekly basis, on as need basis. For this strategic risk, which is probably what differentiates the most successful companies from those who are failures or mediocres, it will be the strategic risks, which means that I need to be thinking 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead of time to anticipate what could go wrong, and then build my business based on that. So I could also use my company as a case study for this. When we started, or let me use something that happened recently. So we've been having part of what I anticipated to be part of our strategy would be digitization of farms in Nigeria. And we invested a lot of resources into that, a lot of resources into that. And so we had successes and we had failures, right? And one of the failures that we actually had was that we did not anticipate that, like, let me use Nigerian slang, there's hunger in the land. A farmer who is even struggling to, like, they're struggling to get the financing they need. They're struggling with mortality on their farm. They're struggling with a lot of issues. The last thing they are worried about is how to keep good records. Believe me, right? And so, here's this tool you build, you spend a lot of time and money building it. You find that they are, like, when a human being is hungry, like, all these innovative things we're talking about does not make sense to them anymore, right? So we had to now solve that fundamental problem, which was access to capital. Farmers need financing, they need support, and they are not being financed by the banking sector. Microfinance is too expensive for them. They're having a lot of issues. So we had to now re-tailor the business around solving that specific problem, right? So that was a strategic decision that we did make with regards to that. And then on the human resource side, typically that's quarterly performance management, just making sure that everybody in the company is working at optimum performance. So I could also share a lesson I've learned from my own experience. So I'm usually this kind of person who is kind, nice. I employ you. If you don't know the work, instead of me to sack you, I will start teaching you, coaching you, being patient with you. Like, for months, I even had, at the point, I had like 1 or 2 staff like that who, like, 18 months, these guys, I'm still mentoring them because I kind of believe in people, right? But I had to change because the reality is that I'm losing money, right? And then I'm not meeting my business KPIs. I have investors now. So now, if you are not meeting your target, warning, second warning, third warning, if you are not, go on suspension, we'll let you go. So standard HR process, quarterly, everybody in the company must be performing based on merit. I don't need to know you. You don't need to know me. Just come do your work. You're my best friend. But if you're not effective or, performing, then we have to let you go, because even though I love you as CEO, and I respect you as a human being, but based on the context of our relationship, which is this business, we're not a good fit for each other. So we need to let that person go. So you need to again structure it needs to be happening regularly, but you can now the intervals will be determined by the nature of the risk as well as the type of business that you are running. I will just wrap up here by saying that I really appreciate the time being here. I'm on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn. I also dropped a comment here. If you have a comment or a feedback, please type it here. Let me know how the class went, how you felt about the class. I'm going to read it and respond to them. And I want to also appreciate ROBS for this fantastic platform to be a blessing once again to everybody here. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blessing. Indeed, your name is a blessing to us. You've been a blessing to us in the last 1 hour or so. We want to say that we have exhausted our time, but like every good thing, there'll be a time that you have to wrap up things. Thank you so much. God bless you so much and bless your business. We appreciate this, and we hope that another time when we call upon you, you will be available for us to have this kind of discussions.
No
Thank
problem.
you so much.
No problem.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, is it okay if I because somebody asked a question about fundraising, is it okay if I share an opportunity with them?
Yes.
Okay, just 1 minute. I think it's keep my mind. So if you go on this website, fracka.com, it contains like a curriculum of topics I do cover when I coach on fundraising. I'll drop it's FRO. Let me go up. fracad.com. You can apply to be a part of it if you want to learn a little bit more about winning grants or raising equity investment. I hope this is useful for those of you who might be interested in it. I'll drop the link on the chat box if that's okay.
Okay, so we'll take closing remark from closing remark.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Blessing. I would like to invite Mr. Idowu Adeleke. Mr. Idowu, are you here? Please briefly, you can address the students.
Yes, it's been a wonderful time. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, good. I just wanted to be sure that everyone can hear me. Okay, so my name is Idowu Adeleke. It's a member in the admissions department. So I'm just here to give a brief of our process and also to keep you updated with the current trend happening in Rome Business School now. So before I go into that, special appreciation to our speaker today, and then also the moderator. It's been a wonderful time. Thank you so much for the insights. And you were able to relate it with the happenings, and everybody was able to relate with the information you're trying to pass across. All right, so as we all know, Rome Business School is an international business school with the main campus in Rome, Italy. This is one of the satellite campus here in Nigeria, offering 16 master's programs and then also the DBA program. Okay, so for those that are yet to enroll into any of our master's program, the opportunity is still there for you. Reach out to us to conclude on your process. You just have the holidays and then today to wrap up with your process and come on board if you're joining the April 2024 intake. Officially, the program starts on the 6th of April with the orientation ceremony, and then the classes would start. So if you're yet to have the calendar for your master's program, it's also very important to reach out to us to get that sorted. And then also you need to complete the documentation process with the VIU. So I look forward to officially welcoming everyone during the orientation. Thank you so much for your time in this section. Do have a wonderful evening.
Thanks so much, Ido. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Blessing, for joining this section today. And Ayotunde Oluyide, thank you so much. So we can all connect with Mr. Blessing on LinkedIn. He's on LinkedIn as Blessing Mene. And also, Ayotunde too is also on LinkedIn. We can reach out to him. If you have any other question, you can ask him. He will actually respond to you on LinkedIn. And also for the people that are requesting for the slides and recording, kindly fill the survey that was shared on the chat so you can have access to the slides and recording of this section. I know Mr. Blessing will share the slides with us and would like to share it with you as well. So do well to fill the survey. Is also an attendance for all of you asking for attendance. It's also part of the attendance. So that is how we'll be sharing the slides and recording. We'll only share it to people that have filled the survey with their correct email address. So do well to fill with your correct email addresses. And thank you for staying true to this time. And we are so sorry for finishing by this time or closing late. Yeah, we apologize. And here I'll just say bye. Thank you so much for joining. On behalf of the country director, Dr. Humphrey Akanazu, and Sarah, who is our head of career service department. Also, Justina, also a career advisor here. I'd like to thank you for joining and say bye for now. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.